Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another beautiful, exquisite, lovely, splendiferous
here we go. Keep
Wednesday night.
It's Wednesday.
It's your job to rein me in. That's
I was going to let you keep going because you're going to run out. The dictionary's not that long.
That's and my vocabulary is even shorter. Welcome to True Sight, our Wednesday night Dota show, brought to you by The Daily Dot. I, of course, am Ian Double John Barker. This is the ever handsome Lee Massey. Lee Malice. I almost called you Lee Massey Malice.
I changed my last name.
Malice, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing, Barker?
I cannot complain aside from the sort of disappointing beer I had earlier. It was lackluster.
What was it?
It was a Shiner Red something.
We're calling Shiner out.
We're calling you out. Ruby Red. My technical director is literally in my ear telling me that I'm wrong. But try the Shiner Ruby Red for yourself and let me know what you think. Of course, we're not here to talk about beer. We're here to talk about Dota. We're here. Got a great show for you tonight. We're going to break down the recently finished Captain's Draft 3.0. Go to a little bit of Tiffany's Teaches Team Fights, who tells us a little bit about positioning in team fights as well as not jumping into a fight without your cooldown. And then, of course, we will have the star carry from Complexity on the show later this evening. Chessie Toffees will be bringing us that interview via Skype. We'll talk to one of many European, North American players that are in the scene right now. But of course, we're going to lead things off with a tournament that literally just finished a couple hours ago.
Yeah, not even a few. Yeah, just
fresh out of the oven. Some Dota action for you. Of course, talking about the Captain's Draft 3.0. If you have not seen the VODs, this is your spoiler alert. This is the one spoiler alert I'm going to give.
Leave now!
If anybody bitches at me in chat, I'll have none of it. I will have you banned, and you'll never get to use our awesome new sub icons. EG winning the Captain's Draft 3-1 against Vega Squadron. Vega really the surprise finalist in that whole thing. A team that really kind of came out of the woodwork, sort of found their groove in this particular tournament. Of course, not ideal to play a final on either USD servers or Luxembourg servers.
Luxembourg, oh my God.
Certainly some problems there, but it was a memorable tournament, to be sure. And I before we talk about the final, I just want to talk about some of my favorite moments throughout the tournament. Of course, the first of which, okay, well, I misspoke when I said one of my favorite moments, the eventful moments.
All right.
I don't want to say that Alliance losing is my favorite moment because I feel like that's not how I feel, nor is that particularly generous to last week's guest.
Yeah, Vegas Squadron seemed to be like they had Alliance's ticket because they beat them in the semifinals and they beat them again in the losers finals. Alliance, they did great throughout the entire game and the entire tournament, but like they just couldn't beat Vegas Squadron. I think my standout moment is the fact that Virtus Pro was knocked out so early in the game. Virtus Pro has done so well in the past few months, ever since TI5. Like they were doing great.
Yeah,
and then
great.
They just couldn't pull it out.
Yeah, it's a lot of that going around. But you have to think about the fact that it's Captain's Draft.
Yeah, it's different.
It's a non-standard format, so your typical comfort heroes may or not be there. For the love of God, S4, we saw a mid-lane Rasta, a mid-lane Shadow Shaman.
Yes!
In Game 2 against Vega. It's hard to tell what was going through their head. I guess you max Q?
Well, I mean, no, I don't know what you do because he's got two amazing disables, but at the same time, it's just like, what are you going to do against? Who did they send against mid against him? I remember. I can't remember. They sent him against like a typical mid lane hero. It was like a Puck or like a Death Prophet. So it actually may have been Death Prophet, and I just can't imagine. It's just not a good idea
winning that lane. Well, okay, here's my theory. Right.
Okay, here we go.
I don't know how this interaction works. I don't know how this interaction works, but what if you could play Shackle like the Batrider lasso? Can you go blink Force Staff, blink in Shackle? Then you can't even Force Staff out because you're facing the target.
Because you're facing the target. Somebody else could. No, you can't have somebody else Force Staff. Yeah, because you're facing the target. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe you could get behind them. Get behind them and then Force Staff push.
You blink. So you have to blink well beyond them into the team. Shackle, have someone Force Staff you out.
That seems like a horrible idea. That just all seems way too complicated.
I will say the most impressive thing about S4 on Rasta though was that when they lost a team fight up near the tier 1 in the top lane against Vega, and when Witch Doctor was trying to clean up the wards and get like the extra gold, like rubbing salt in the wound, S4 was actually denying his own serpent wards. which I thought was actually kind of impressive.
Yeah, because you don't want them to get the gold.
Exactly. Yeah, because that's
okay. So, question: why do you call him Rasta? I call him Shadow Shaman. I mean, this is Dota 2. I know you know the Dota 1 names. We've had this conversation before.
I've heard it. I'm not like I'm not one of those people who's like a big Dota 1 names guy. I heard it. And I kind of liked it, and so I was just figured I'd run with it. And,
I like it. It's a good name.
It makes me sound like an insider.
It makes you sound like you have a Dota show.
Rylai, am I right, guys?
Yeah,
Rylai.
right. Crystal Maiden. Get it right.
If you know the original names, please be kind to your Dota 2 newbies in pubs and call them by their original or by their actual name. Thank you. So like you talked about, Alliance, a little bit of Kryptonite there, and obviously I don't want to put too much weight on this tournament. This was an online tournament. The draft format was weird. Obviously, there's very little to be taken from this, except that EG's really good at drafting, which is sort of
something we've already known.
Yeah, unknown factor. But it was sort of incredible to see Alliance flame out so badly, and I think it was because and one of the broadcasters actually brought this up. They're used to being the aggressors right now. They're used to having a couple minutes to farm, get the bear going, get the Juggernaut going on Loda, get whatever carry he decides to pick, the Spectre, the Terrorblade, and then they go and they run at the opponent. They pick aggressive supports like Chen, they pick tempo controllers in the mid like Batrider and Puck for S4, and next thing you know, they're running straight into team fights, locking people down and just dumping damage on them. Vega never really gave them that chance, did they?
Vega was just as aggressive as Alliance usually is. Now, Vega Squadron, I think that's kind of how they figured out how to beat Alliance. Maybe this is something we're going to see in the future. Maybe we're going to see the next few months. Everyone, we're going against Alliance. Let's just pick a heavy strat, early game Undying, immediately let's go for the team fight kind of strat. But I mean, I'm hoping that isn't what we see in the future. Maybe Alliance can figure a way to maybe this is how people think we play. Maybe we should play a different way. I don't know.
I think that there's enough in place, enough sort of D-push heroes, if you will. I mean, you could pick the Dazzle, who could kick a creep wave back. You could pick the Beastmaster, who could throw out the whirling axes and cut through the creep wave. This obviously isn't the TI4 meta anymore, is it? Yeah. Where you could just pick a bunch of hyper push. It's sort of found a nice balance in the meta between early game aggression and fueling late game dominance. You have to have some presence early game so that you can build sort of some strength in the mid game so that you can roll into the late game. It's a much more balanced approach to Dota, I think, to see this sort of multi-phase drafts coming out, as opposed to like you were talking about TI4, where it was literally just if you win early game, it's over.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you think we can look forward to? Because from now until 8 days in the future, we have nothing until Shanghai Majors. It's literally Shanghai Majors is upon us. It's
I just threw up a little in my mouth to hear you say that. To go that long without a major tournament.
I mean, it's a week and a day.
That's too long.
I think we deserve the break. We should have a moment of silence before something crazy happens. That is the Shanghai Majors.
You may.
Okay.
You, however, do not work here. Let me tell you a secret. The League of Legends fans in this office are atrocious.
The League of Legends fans, they have them?
They watch League of Legends in the office. If you can fucking believe that. They watch League of Legends in the office. They booed me the other day when I put Dota on. This is the environment I have to work on. Please send care packages, craft cheese, ramen noodle, anything to help me survive this hostile work environment.
This is so bad. It's then it comes over.
It's oh my God. It's pretty rough.
I played League of Legends last night as a joke, just to see what it was like. And my girlfriend was sitting behind me. Was like, "What are you playing, Sesame Street? What is this?" It's like, oh my God, this cartoon. This is weird.
In all fairness, they're two completely different games. I just
we don't want
the better one.
Sorry about that, by the way.
I don't think anybody's gonna mind. Another thing that I wanted to talk about in the captain's draft, obviously EG winning it in surprisingly convincing fashion. I'll say this. Yes, this was a game where this was a tournament that was played on online servers. It was played, blah, 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 blah. All the disclaimers that everybody wants to hear. I've sort of felt like we saw EG build a little bit more of an identity, because that was one of the things that was really on the wish list for EG after MDL. After MDL, people were looking at this team and they sort of said, okay, they're pretty good. They're obviously extremely talented. They just don't know how they want to play Dota yet. And it feels like with these drafts, putting Arteezy on more of the Loda style carries, the guys that really snowball into late game dominance, like I was talking about earlier. It feels like they've sort of maybe figured out how they want to play Dota. They give Arteezy a chance to shine and farm his brains out. They give Sumail and Universe an opportunity to control the tempo.
I don't know why they put Sumail in a tempo controlling position as well. Because, I mean, okay, so let's look at TI5. TI5, Sumail was their hard carry. He was a person that was like really he was their mid. He was mostly their mid. He played heroes that snowballed effectively in that meta. Let's like Storm Spirit, Ember Spirit, all these heroes that did that. And now we've got Arteezy. It was almost like when Arteezy came back to EG right after TI5, I was wondering, how are you going to have that much ego on one team? How does that work? Isn't there going to be a little too much?
They're both pretty good players.
They're amazing players. They're amazing players, but there's only so much farm on the map.
That's true.
And that's why I was just like, how is this going to work out? And I remember like directly after TI5, we saw EG kind of figure out what they're going to do and how it's going to work out. And now we've got the current EG where like Sumail is taking a back seat, letting Arteezy doing more things. Arteezy is farming his brains out, as you just said. They're putting him on the loaded carries. They're letting him snowball into this force to be reckoned with late game. But I wonder what we can see. How are they going to evolve in the next few months?
I feel like a lot of it has to do with, like you talked about, farm distribution. And for a while, they were sort of trying to play the poor universe. They're trying to play a dual core with poor universe, and that's just really not how the game works right now. They would put the Invoker mid, and even though Invoker gets picked mid a lot in pubs and he wins a lot in pubs, he's still not the takeover hero that you see in the professional scene, because a lot of people have played against him. They know how to deal with him. I also feel like part of it is that Invoker doesn't offer enough control. I mean, he offers some control, obviously, for the mid lane matchup, but he doesn't offer enough control in those early game ganks. It's extremely unreliable. You could throw out the tornado, you could throw out the cold snap, but you have to be in range, which means you have to be sort of in the path of danger.
You have to be like
at a
vulnerable.
time. Yeah, you have to be vulnerable at a time when you purchase like Hand of Midas. And if you don't purchase Hand of Midas, you don't like sort of make him the farming character, he's going to fall off later on. So if you've already picked carries that are supposed to go into the late game and need to farm for a long time, you sort of put Invoker on a roller coaster that he wants to get off of like 10 or 15 minutes.
I don't want to be here anymore.
I don't want to do this.
But Invoker does so much.
That's true.
He does so much, and I feel like sometimes Invoker does so much that he doesn't do any specific thing amazing. But at the other time, and it literally depends on who's playing them. I mean, because sometimes you'll see an Invoker just literally single-handedly win a match. It's just like 1v5, not a problem.
But he needs to get going.
Exactly. He needs so much in order to get going. He doesn't need the Hand of Midas because, as our best friend has said, Hand of Midas is not the item to buy in Dota anymore. I haven't bought one in months. But, I mean, what are you going to do to supplement the Invoker income? That's what you need. He needs that income. He's a greedy bastard.
And so the obvious option, as we saw in the tournament, is put Sumail on something where he can make a difference in terms of teamfight control, which is really where he shines, because even with the Storm Spirit, that was sort of a damage / teamfight controlling hero. Ember Spirit, damage / teamfight controlling hero. You need to put him on something that's going to make a difference, and you sort of need to build the team around the idea that Arteezy wants to go hyphy. Don't you? You have to sort of build a lineup that's going to control the enemy team enough that Arteezy can just go ham.
I mean, he needs to pull those rampages off. I mean, give him a TA or anti-mage, and that's a game right there. Boom.
Yeah, put him on things that are going to farm, and then you could just protect the hell out of him in the late. And that's sort of what they did.
But that's what it is. It becomes like, let him farm, protect him, keep him alive. We need him.
I saw I forget which tournament it was, but I watched a match where Arteezy kept like running into a team fight, because he does have a tendency to do that a little bit.
He's not a host.
He wants to make he wants to make the plays. He wants to be the strong back for EG that can sort of take over a match. And who could blame him? When you're the number one, when you're the position one carry, that's sort of your job. But the problem is you need to create a situation for him where you can keep him alive. Sort of the 4 protect 1. But even then, the thing that I like about this meta that we saw in the captain's draft is it's not even 4 protect 1. It's like 3 cores, 2 of which control the shit out of a team fight, and then 1 who runs away once you get a lead. and sort of guarantees your win. It's sort of it's a cool place to be in the meta because it's so much about fighting. It's so much about fighting.
But that's
right
with the EG. That's with watching an EG game. Now let's look at Vegas Squadron, because Vegas Squadron took a game off of EG in the finals at this Captain's Draft 3.0. Now the thing is that Vegas Squadron, I feel like they bring a different flavor to the table. You know, it's like you're sitting around drinking beer and somebody brings Kool-Aid out of the freezer. It's like, okay, Vegas Squadron brings a little change. They beat Alliance. They had Alliance's ticket the entire match. They went 2-1 in the group stages. They're doing great by all means.
They sure are.
But they're not the like let's think about the top 5 teams that we usually see at every tournament. Right now it's EG. We're seeing Liquid at every tournament. Empire and Alliance.
Yeah,
and
you're talking about just the Western teams?
Just Western teams.
Sure.
Like we've got our top 8. Complexity is still in there. Chessie. They're in there, but we've got so many different teams, and I feel like North American Dota is evolving into this monster that is like we've got aspects of Chinese Dota because we've got crazy farmers. We've got aspects of the like cis Dota because like we've got crazy Hovos fights happening at level 1 row sometimes. But I mean, I'm looking forward to the next 6 months, where the meta goes, where the meta changes. Like who's going to be?
So you're saying that it's still extremely fluid.
It's extremely fluid. I mean, anybody can win every match. It's just like it's a toss up. Who knows? Unless it's like not a toss up, in which case it's bad.
Just to note, the Vegas draft against Alliance was Chen, Lashrak, Jakiro, Clockwork, and Chaos Knight. That was game 1. And then in the second one, where they won even faster, it was Witch Doctor, Undying, Brewmaster, Juggernaut, and Death Prophet. So you're looking at a couple of teams that have really strong damage dealers. So, for example, the Lashrak paired with the Chaos Knight, and then just an buttload of control, right? That Chen, Jakiro, and Clockwork could pretty much lock down a team for the rest of the game.
Exactly.
And then you've got they're also, I think, another element that needs to be part of these drafts that we saw for the successful teams in Captain's Draft was an element of push. If you look at what the lineup that went against Vegas Squadron Alliance's lineup in game 1, it was Batrider, Rubik, Dazzle, Brewmaster, and Slark. There's not a ton of push in that, is there? There's Fadebolt and there's the Beam of Death. I can't remember what
Beam of Death.
Beam of Death. Dazzle. It'll come to me later.
Shadowy.
As soon as we it's not Weave.
We're
not going to talk about it.
I don't play Dazzle
in the
much.
In the middle of Chessie's
Sorry,
interview,
we'll talk about this later.
In the middle of Chessie's interview, I'll just remember it and I'll just yell.
I'm hoping this happens.
But there definitely needs to be an element of push, an element of control, and an element of late game strength. And I feel like there isn't a draft out there that doesn't check these boxes right now. So I think in that way, we've got that part of the meta figured out. Who you draft for those particular positions at this point is completely up in the air. Of course, the one thing I want to mention is Captain's Draft was not a completely serious tournament. There were some beautiful moments. One of my favorites, and I want to get your opinion on this, was Arteezy breaking Reddit's hearts by going with the jungle Legion commander, just Iron Talon, max W and E, and then just go to town, and then come out of the jungle with level 6 and just duel everything that moves.
Well, I mean, okay, it wasn't supposed to work.
You have strong opinions about this.
I have very strong. I love Legion Commander, but I don't think she belongs in the jungle. I mean,
fair enough.
If it's so much going on at the same time.
But it worked.
It's like it worked.
But
it did work under very specific conditions. Very specific conditions. Now, maxing W and E is understandable because overwhelming odds, unless you're going to be off laning with Legion Commander. Usually, I like to go with the Q if I'm off laning and I want to pressure as much as possible because that clump with 2 heroes and a full wave of creeps, that's a lot of damage just dropping down out of nowhere. Now, what is like? God damn it. Like, that's ridiculous. Legion Commander is just...
You are so upset right now.
No, I'm not upset. I just think it's crazy. I feel like Legion Commander, she needs the early duels. She does. That's all she needs.
Because if you don't get the good duels early, you're probably not going to get them late. You're just not going to have the damage.
If you don't get the duels early, you're not going to
happen.
Or you're going to rely on somebody else to kill them for you, and you're just going to lock them in place. And then you become like a liability late game. Because Legion Commander, if she doesn't get the duels early, she's a liability late game because then she's going to get picked off or she's going to give damage.
Well, and
oh my god,
yeah, tons. And let's qualify that by saying that the surrounding cast around the Legion Commander was Templar Assassin, who obviously is going to add a lot of damage to those duels. Exactly. If you want to lock and burst someone down, Sand King, Silencer, and Phoenix. So we're talking
that was built around the Legion Commander.
Built around the Legion Commander. It was team fight for weeks. At this point, Vega had also drafted both Clinks and Spectre. So you're talking about Clinks, who's extremely weak early on until he gets the Shadow Walk and he starts eating creeps with his ultimate. He starts ganking a lot, and the Spectre, who doesn't come online until she gets her Radiance. Against a comp that wants to come out of the jungle and start ganking your balls off.
Exactly. I like that phrase. Ganking your balls off. Can we get that on a t-shirt? Anybody?
I'm sure we can.
Okay.
I'm sure someone probably has.
Already has it.
But yeah, certainly a lineup that was prepared. And also, we would be remiss if we let Arteezy off the hook for dying farming ancients on Ursa. That was a precious moment.
I like Ursa. I just like Ursa in general. He is an amazing hero.
I like Ursa. I especially liked Ursa in his in eHome's draft against LG in the MDL because they knew that they drafted it to safe tri lane against Universe and just completely and utterly shut him down. And I'm sad to say that it worked.
One of the heroes I'm actually sad not to see in the meta anymore is Troll Warlord. I said that with a straight face.
Troll Warlord.
I was just thinking about
what happened
Ursa.
to the days of Troll Warlord and Sniper, man.
6.83. Does anybody remember that? If that gives you PTSD,
meta.
call your doctor. Because Sniper and Troll in the same team. Good God.
I need to take a sip.
I need to sit down again. Oh, wait, I am.
Real quick, final thoughts of the Captain's Draft before we talk to our good friend Chessie.
I think Captain's Draft was a nice vacation in between MDL and Shanghai Major. Mm-hmm. It gave everyone or gave NA Dota a chance to relax and see what's going on.
Sure.
Gave a chance for Action Slack to eat a sandwich. It was a lot. There was a lot going on there. And I like the fact that was our vacation. It's now over. We've got a week and a day or 2 days to really sit down, look at the meta, think about what's going on, pick
think
some
about
drafts,
what we've done, what
have we created.
I wholeheartedly agree. It was a great opportunity to sort of let everybody get some continued practice in, let the meta form, let people metaform. Metaform is when you compare two words using like and or and. I don't think that's even the correct definition of metaphor. Anyway, I think a silly tournament deserves an equally silly segue. Before we get to our good friend Chessie from Complexity to talk to us about NA Dota, we've got your good friend Tiffany. Everybody's our good friend on here. Fuck. We've got our friend Tiffany breaking down a team fight between Digital Chaos and Team Liquid, teaching us a little bit about timing your cooldowns and positioning in team fights.
Hi everybody, I'm Tiffany Kwan and welcome to Tiffany Teaches Team Fights. This week, let's take a look at a fight from Game 2 of Liquid versus Digital Chaos from the Captain's Draft Tournament. Overextension from Liquid and good positioning from DC results in 3 down for Liquid. Following a kill on the UR Juggernaut, Fada Windranger goes hunting for the retreating heroes from DC. But the Windranger overextends just a little too far beyond his team, and a timely Invis rune and DC are able to close in, dishing out a lot of damage onto Fada before 3 from Liquid come to back him up. The 3 from DC are grouped up in an Enigma's hope and dream for a black hole, but alas, the ult is on cooldown. As Fada tries to make his escape, DC split up into 3 different directions around the river. Make that 4 as the Silencer joins the fight. This split up actually worked in DC's favor as the troll couldn't take out the tanky Bristleback. The Earthshaker pops a Shadow Amulet to hide right under the nose of Tusk, and the Brewmaster splits and finishes off Windranger, while the Enigma goes for a little Cyclone ride. When the troll gives up on the Bristle and turns to join the Tusk in whacking the Silencer, Earthshaker jumps in with a 2-man Echo Slam. A fissure to follow, and, well, goodbye Troll and Tusk. This fight would have likely gone very differently had the black hole been up. As it was though, with that ult on cooldown, Liquid already significantly down in the game, and with the Windranger overextending, Liquid should have left the Windranger to die and retreated. On the flip side, DC had some great positioning as the 3-way split splintered the focus of Liquid into different parts while also not losing anyone from their side. Along with a 2-man Echo Slam, DC take control of the fight even while down a carry. So what's the moral of the story? Simple. Don't take a fight with a major ultimate on cooldown. If Enigma had his black hole when the fight broke out, we'd be looking at a very different fight. So, in conclusion, beware of overextending, mind your cooldowns, and remember that 2-man Echo Slam is weirdly fun to say. I'm Tiffany, and this has been Tiffany Teaches Teamfights. Back to you at the desk.
I learned a lot in that team fight, particularly how bad my own positioning is.
Well,
I'm
I mean,
kidding.
you didn't need a video to show that.
Oh, you dog. You dog. Thanks to Tiffany for that team fight breakdown. We hope you at home learned something. Now, of course, we've got a Shanghai Major coming up. Not just any major, a Shanghai one specifically. North American team sort of took the world by storm. The qualifier was dominated by some surprise teams and some not so surprising teams. And one of the most not surprising teams, one of the strongest teams in the region to make that spot is none other than Complexity, and their star carry is a Swede. A freaking Swede by the name of Chessie. Chessie, Toffees, welcome to the show. How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm great, but I think Chessie's the one that we want to really hear from. Chessie, how are you doing tonight is the real question.
Thank you. I'm doing great.
Good. I hope so, because I think here at the Daily Dot, we've really committed to bringing on Swedish carries to sort of take our show to the next level. 2 in a row is pretty impressive.
If you want to get a Miracle on the horn, we can have him on and just make it a trifecta.
There we go. We'll run the trifecta. That's it, guys. So our guest today is someone we should probably introduce to you if you don't already know who he is. If you're not a big fan of Han from back in the day, maybe you're new to the game and have missed some of the transition period. This is, and I'm going to try this name, Chessie, and you're going to have to forgive me if it goes badly, Rasmus Chessie Blomden. Is that close?
Pretty close. I mean, if you haven't heard the Swedish pronunciation before, I'll give you an A+ for that.
Hit us with the Swedish.
It's the Swedish way of saying it.
Say it again.
Who's behind Chessie?
Rasmus Blomden would work good. It was pretty close though.
All right,
That'll work.
I'll take that. I'll take that as credit to myself. He is the carry, as we've already mentioned, for Complexity Gaming. You and your brother, recent additions to the team, migrating over. We talked to Beef a couple of weeks ago about the visa issues and the difficulty that sort of went along with transitioning to the States. If you guys do want to see that information, you can go back into our archives and check out that interview on its own. Now, I'm going to cut straight to it, Chessie. I appreciate you coming on the show, and I think the thing that most people want to hear about is you're back. About a year ago, you made a post on Reddit sort of explaining the situation up to the point when you left Alliance and what treatments you were trying. I'm not going to go into that. We don't have time to sort of go over that giant thing, though. If you guys are watching live, I will tweet out the link to that Reddit post right after the interview so you can check out the stuff that Chessie did beforehand. And we'll also put it on the description for the YouTube video so that you can access that as well. So, Chessie, catch us up. From that time to today, what have you sort of done to get yourself from a point where you couldn't play Dota really at all enjoyably to being back on top and going to a Shanghai Major?
I think there's a lot of things in my life that happened that made a big difference. Like the one thing that really enhances pain, if you're in a lot of pain a lot of the time, is that if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling down as a person, the pain is going to be worse for you. And so if you're in a bad state in your life, like you're going to experience this pain that might not be that bad, but it's going to be experienced as much worse, especially if you're not doing that much. Like I was just watching Dota, laying in my bed, not doing much during the day, so I was just in a really bad place. But then after a while, I started, like summer came up, I started doing a lot of things, started talking to a girl, like a lot of things were happening in my life. And then I went to America to visit this girl that I had been talking to for quite some time. And then at the same time as going, because I was going to visit her in Florida, Complexity just got their new team house in Florida as well. So I was talking to CoL, Swindlemelons, the captain of the team, and I was just telling him that maybe I should come pay you guys a visit at the same time when I'm there in your new house. And he was all for it. So he kind of asked me to play as a stand-in for them in a couple of games, and I hadn't been playing competitive Dota in a really long time, and I was very excited to do so. So I was playing as a stand-in for the team for a couple of games, and I noticed that maybe it works. Maybe I can play, especially if I have a team who's like willing to work around my injury. They're willing to like have me miss a couple of scrims. If I can't play some games, I can stay out for a couple of games. And like all of these things combined that probably led me to being able to play again. Especially, I used to have a lot of pain just from playing like 2 or 3 games of Dota. I couldn't like play a lot more than that. But after a while, I was just the pain like started to like the pain is still there for sure, but it's stopped being like directly related to the Dota play. That's what I felt. Like I would just like associate my pain with sitting at my computer with playing Dota because that's where it all started from. So after a while, it's just not as bad anymore. Like the pain is definitely still there, but it's not as bad at all, and I can play almost as much as I would want to at this point. I rarely have to take breaks anymore.
So it's definitely more bearable. Now it sounds like, and I wasn't expecting to hear this, that there was a point where Swindles and the Complexity guys were just struggling to get relevant again, and then they discovered 2 great players who joined the team because of a girl. So Swindles, so Complexity was saved because of a woman. That's pretty impressive.
We actually are all impressed by that. We actually had a conversation a couple of days ago.
Okay, tell me I'm not the only one though that when you said like I was talking to a girl, I wanted to be like ooh,
Yeah.
like the 90s
This was
sitcoms.
4th grade.
Like a little CW show. We could have done our introductions like this.
Why don't we do that sometime?
I don't want to wait for our lives.
No, not
All
that
right,
song.
so at the risk of us getting way out of control, let's rein it back in here real quick. And you brought up sort of a change in lifestyle, feeling better about things. Are there specific measures? I know Complexity historically has worked hard to take care of their players. Is Complexity doing anything in the house or sort of as a team to make sure that you are comfortable and able to continue playing at the level that you need to be competitive?
I mean, they're not doing anything specific right now. We were talking about, I have seen a doctor here in Florida who couldn't do much more for me than any other Swedish doctor I've seen has been able to do either. Like, they're not doing anything specifically right now, but just the living situation. And like, I'm living in a hot climate. We have an awesome hot tub. We have a pool. It's just like everything just adds up.
Nice.
It's pretty nice.
I actually don't think about that. It's definitely a temperature difference. I didn't realize that the house down there had things like hot tubs and pools. I guess I know where I'm going to be stopping by on my next Florida vacation. So you better prep the guest bed there, boys. Now, it seems like that time period had to have been pretty stressful. What I really want to know is how was Alliance during the period? Did you find them to be particularly supportive, or do you feel like they were sort of ready to move on once the pain set in?
They were definitely very, very supportive, and they gave me like as much time as they possibly could in order to like keep playing with me. Like Loda were very eager to keep playing with me, and he was also like kept in touch for a long time, and he wanted me to play with them as soon as I got better. But they just took way too long. I couldn't play for way too long, and after a certain point, I just told them like, "Hey, it's not happening like anytime soon." And they picked up some other people for their lineup, and I'm still on good terms with them. I'm still good friends with them, and everything was handled very properly from their side.
It does. From what I hear, it seems like it went smoothly, and I do obviously commend the maturity it took for you to say, I have to fix this before I can go back to competitive gaming, find somebody else. Because that's something that I think we don't see as often. A lot of folks will play through the pain and put them in a situation where, for the long term, they suffer serious injury. So a lot of us really excited to see you come back in. Now, as we've said, and we brought this up, you're a Complexity man now. You live at the house. You're here in America. I do also know that in an interview way back in 2014, Swindles said the last spot was tough. We were really hoping to get Chessie, which would have been my dream team. Was there initially a temptation for you to join Complexity back in 2014 after the transfer from Han at all, or was it just Alliance was sort of where you were headed?
The thing was, like, if we made the decision as a squad, as a team, as a 5 to all go to Dota combined, I would have done it. But I started playing Dota like 5 or 6 months before everyone else in the team did. So I felt like I was already pretty far ahead of everyone else in the team because they were just getting into Dota. I was getting team offers from left and right. Like Alliance wanted to play with me. I tried out for EG. Like I had a lot of different offers. I couldn't really pass up on that. Like as much as they are my friends, as much as I want to play with them, it's a business as well. You want to make the best out of it, and I would just wanted to make whichever decision I felt was best at the time.
If I could stop you really quick, are we seriously just going to gloss over the fact that you just said that you tried out for EG? We're just going to let that go? I mean...
I actually played a couple of games with them prior to the TI. They played with Mason too. TI, what's the TI4?
TI4.
I think.
Yeah, it would have been TI4.
Yeah. But at that point, I didn't even know the item builds for the heroes. I just remember playing Doom one game with them, and I just was just like, what do I skill? What do I buy?
And that didn't impress them?
No, they were like, no, they went with Mason instead. But I that was like a month of Dota playing at max. So
and
after that.
Sorry, that came out of your relationship with PPD from Han, right?
Yes.
Is that sort of okay? I just wanted to clarify that's sort of how you knew them. Continue with what happened after Mason took the spot.
Yeah, but then again when Fear had his injury, they just wanted to try out with me again. So, but I think Fear came back at that point though. I think that was what happened. I don't actually remember. But that was the point when Alliance also wanted to scrim with me. So at first, obviously, I wanted to play with EG as much as possible. But since I couldn't get that spot, I took my second best option, which was to play with Alliance, and was also not a decision I regret at all.
Absolutely. So before I ask you what really appealed to you about playing with Alliance, I do want to state that I think it's a little bit ironic that Fear left because of a injury from playing Dota, and then ultimately came back and pushed you to Alliance, where you then had to leave because of an injury in Dota. And I don't think we can stress enough the importance of ergonomics right now, because there's news stories all over the place of other players from different games getting hurt as well. So definitely take care of yourselves, guys. Now, you went to Alliance. You said it was sort of your second choice. What was appeal? Was it just because it was sort of a local team to where your neck of the woods, or was it relationships from the past that really drew you in that direction?
Not really. I had lunch with Loda at one point in DreamHack 2 years prior to that. I don't even know if he remembers that. Like, I had lunch with Loda and Ake and one guy from my team called Iksu at the point when I played in Druids in Holland a really long time ago. That was like the only interaction I had ever had with them. But Loda just contacted me when I was looking for a team after the TI shuffle, and he just basically said he'd been looking at me playing Holland for a long time, and he thought I'd be a good fit for their team. And I mean, Alliance were already legendary at that point, and they're by far the best Swedish team. And I just wanted to try out with them, so I played a couple of pop games with Loda first, and he really liked how I played. And then I continued playing with them as a team, and things were going really, really well for us. Actually, we were like doing better than most people thought, I think.
Very cool. Very cool. So let me ask you this, and we'll pivot a little bit to talk more about your complexity position. But as I went back through the history of Han and sort of tracked the brothers, you and Limp, who came up together, I think I had to go all the way back to like 2012 for a time when you played competitively on the same team. In fact, I believe there was a period where you split up and became, if you guys didn't know this is pretty interesting, they were on what would be considered arch rivals. Chessie stayed with Complexity Gaming, and his brother went to Trademark Esports, which I don't know a ton about Han, I'll be honest with you guys, but apparently drama was legit there, like way more legit than it is here. And these two teams had a really heavy-duty rivalry. What is it like to sort of be back together playing with your brother at a high level of competition?
I mean, this is a little awkward talking about since Limp is listening to this and is sitting right next to me. Coming in here.
Oh, man.
But the thing is, Limp has always been a rager, right? Limp is always raging when we're playing. Like, he's a lot better now. But he was very young at that point. How old was he? Like, I don't even know. Like, he was like 15 or 16 when we played. I don't know. He was very young at least. And so he didn't deal with losing very well. He didn't deal with stuff like that at all. So we're a lot different, him and me, in how we handle games. I'm very calm and collected, and he's raging a lot of the time. Like, when things are going good, we're fine. But he's gotten a lot better over the years. I think back then I didn't really want to play with him because of these issues. That's what I can remember. But a couple of years later, he's matured a bit, and we're all good now.
There is a maturity to that, to knowing that you just don't synergize. We'll go fight against each other because these teams hate each other anyway, and then we'll come back together when we're more grown up. That's really interesting. It's kind of cool. Obviously, Complexity, the only team that I'm aware of in esports that runs a two-brother lineup, which is entertaining, and I'm sure makes for, how do you say, some awkward but intense moments at the house potentially, as I'm sure you're not scared to say how you feel to each other. Let's talk about that transition though. In Han, for Complexity, you played a jungler position. Now, jungler doesn't really exist in Dota. It did for a little while. It's there, but it's not a thing like it was in Han. What was it like to transition from that sort of jungler mindset and process to the carry position for Dota Complexity?
Now let me stop you right there. To be honest, with Legion Commander, you can juggle all you want now. The position's back. So
we're not doing this. Lycan is not going to be a
next
thing.
question, right?
Ignore the egg sitting on the brick wall. Did you have how was the transition coming from jungling and on to carrying?
The thing is, I was never even supposed to play a jungling position in the first place. It was I was never a jungler. It was just I played as a triad for Complexity. They were by far the best team in Han back then, and I mean they were the only star players, and they needed a jungler. I wasn't a jungler at all. I just tried out for some screens for them, and they were like, "Hey, you should jungle for us." And I was like, "All right, well, I'll try it out." Like prior to that, I always all of my pubs I will always play mid, nothing else. I play if you're a mid player, I think you can transition into the carry play really easily, and I was a horrible jungler to say the least. I was really not good, and I played like 200 games of Ophelia, which is Chen in Han. I just played like 200 games of that hero in a pub, and I was like, oh shit, I'm pretty good at this. And then I just started playing a jungler. But going back from jungler into carry mid was not a problem. These are the roles I'm most confident at, and these are the roles I've been playing my entire MOBA career.
All right. Okay. Well, then this is my last big question for you, and it's it has to do with you, but also with the captain of your team. Now, you can ask 10 different people about their experiences with swindle melons over the years, and you will get 10 different answers. So, enlighten us. As you return to the team and settle into the home, what is life like with Swindles as your captain?
I mean, it's good. Life is good. we try hard to win a Dota. We practice a lot, and we also, like, outside of that, we were living in a house of just 6 guys. I mean, it's a weird situation, really. Like, how often do you have like 6 guys living in a mansion house like this? How can life not be good? Like, we play Dota, we might get mad at each other over times, but in the end of the day, you can just go grab a beer and sit in the hot tub and enjoy like what you have here in life. I mean, I really enjoy my life right now. That's for sure.
It legitimately sounds like a reality TV show. Like MTV should be running Real World Complexity, right? Like it sounds like you guys have a really cool thing going on. I am excited to hear that your back is doing significantly better. I know that I thought watching you when you joined Alliance was exciting, and then sort of seeing you knocked off of that and the frustration that came from not being able to play was really disheartening. So I'm excited to have you here. I'm excited to have you playing on a North American team that we can all cheer for, because this is obviously a show based out of North America. And if you know anything about Ian, you know that we are totally allowed to have any kind of bias that we want. So very excited to have you guys here. I appreciate you being on the show. Before we do the throwbacks, do you have any last thoughts or shout outs that you want to share with everybody before we go back to the main desk?
I'll just take a moment to shout out to our team, to our chef Josh, to our manager Beef, to my girlfriend Jess, my friends at home, and our organization, Complexity.
Is Jess the girl that brought you to Florida in the first place?
Yes.
So if you guys break up, is there a danger?
Oh no! Come on, man.
Going back to Alliance?
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see.
Oh, no!
It's just the glue keeping us all together.
I love it. I could not have gotten a better answer to wrap this up. I really appreciate you being on this, guys. And before I send everyone back to Ian and Lee on the main desk, it's been Toffee. It's been great spending the evening with you. And I just want to say, play more Dota. And for the last time, Toffee's out.
Goodbye.
I just want to see like a parody of that turned into like real life, where like they have like the chat and like somebody like puts a ward and it gets instantly dewarded. They're like, dude, why'd you ward there? And then they do the like shink, you know, the like dramatic reality TV music. And then you see Chessie in the diary room going, I was really pissed off when Melons told me that my ward was dewarded. And then later on they're like bitch fighting in the kitchen.
I feel like you've already
into.
imagined the first 3 seasons of some
I
Complexity.
most certainly have, and expect them coming out very soon.
No, this is a horrible idea. A reality TV show.
It's a great idea, and I can't hear your criticism up here on Good Idea Mountain.
That was good. Good job. I applaud.
Thank you. I still couldn't hear it because I'm still up on Good Idea Mountain. Anyway, that's going to do it for us tonight, folks. Thank you so much to Chessie for coming on the show. Thank you so much for my co-host Lee for letting me spout memes about Jungle Legion Commander. If you like the show, we will of course be back next week live every Wednesday with more Dota goodness. Go ahead and hit that follow button, or if you really like the show, check out the subscribe button, our shiny new subscribe button. It's $4.99 a month, and we've got 2 great subscriber emotes. The first one is a dumpster fire.
Saw that. Which
weird. I have been spamming needlessly, and then another one is some fecal matter hitting the fan. And I'm pretty proud of that one. Although I do love that our 2 sub emotes represent like chaos in the Twitch community.
I don't see why is it dumpster fire of all things? Like,
why not dumpster fire?
I don't know where that came from.
Because when like something goes catastrophically wrong, it's a dumpster fire.
That's called foobar,
bro. You've never heard that expression?
No, I've never heard.
I've not heard somebody say foobar since the early '90s. Like,
well, I mean,
this is foobar, Michelle.
Get back to the times, man.
Anyway, check out that subscribe button. If you want to catch the VOD after the fact, youtube.com/daily.esports. Check us out on Facebook, daily.esports, and also on Twitter @esports. That's going to do it for us this evening. I have been Ian Double John Barker. This has been Lee Malice Massey. We will see you next time.